Hey guys, it's Videozol back again with another Card Fight Vanguard deck profile. I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and don't pitch. Let's get started. So this time it is my Megacolony budget deck profile because this, technically speaking, isn't a budget. I guess it could be considered a budget Megacolony deck. So let's go ahead and get started. The first card is our starting Vanguard, Machining Worker Ant. So pretty much basic 6k power, 10k shield when right upon draw one. Standard starting Vanguard unit can be good, can be bad. Just get you a free draw, and then once the quick order ticket comes out, it can get you a quick shield, which is really useful. So yeah. Next up is our triggers. 4 copies of the draw trigger larva mutant larva draw. Could be useful, helps get hand, prevents. It actually does a lot. Actually, it prevents I guess hand problems. It gives you really good resources. I would suggest putting the drop PG in this thing's place if you can get the drop PG. Otherwise, this should go in the deck regardless. 4 copies of Shelter Beetle because I run 8 crit with the other one being Jewel Flasher just to add the little oomph of aggressiveness to the deck. Because 4 draws all you need, and then 4 copies of the Heal Medical Battler Rampy. I don't really have a choice about this card. If I had another choice, I probably would take the other one. Okay, on to grade 1s. First, we have 4 copies of Spiteful Hopper. 10k shield, 8k power, auto rearguard circle. When placed, Soul Blast 1, and if you do, choose one of your other units. That unit gets plus 6k to end of turn. Then, if you have no face-up cards in your damage zone, countercharge 1. That's useful. The deck counterbosses a decent amount, so getting a free countercharge off is really helpful. Plus, even if you can't get it off, the deck has enough soul to where Soul Blasting 1 and giving plus 6k will be really nice. So it can be both. It's no way it's bad. It's perfect in this deck. 4 copies all the way. Next up, we have 4 copies of Small Captain Butterfly Officer. So 10k shield, 6k power, auto rearguard circle when it's placed, rested, and if you do, choose up to one of your other rearguards. It gets plus 10 to end of turn, and if you do, at the end of the turn, put that unit into your soul. If you do, countercharge 1. It's useful. You lose out on a booster, but the unit that you give this effect to gets plus 10k, so that's like a free boost on its own. And then at the end of the turn, you get to countercharge 1 by setting that thing to soul. So you refill your soul for Parasite Hopper or whatever else you want to use, and then you have this unit who's going to refill your countercharge. So win-win. Finally, Machining Lady Bomber. 10k shield, 8k base, auto rearguard circle when placed, Soul Blast 1 and rest this unit. Choose any number of all fighters' rearguards and rest them. If your opponent has 3 or less rearguards, then you get to countercharge. So it can be useful, it can be bad. I mean, it's all the grade 1s are on place. That's like the problem with this deck, because after they're placed, they're kind of just boosters and that's it. But it can be useful because it's rest rearguards, and then if you don't have to rest everything, you can rest everything if you want to. But then, if your opponent has 3 or less rear guards, you get to countercharge 1, which fixes the counterblast problem a bit, which can be helpful all around. Granted, I have yet to use this skill because, well, I have used this skill before, but I've yet to use it for an actual meaningful purpose, because all I really use it for is machining Spark Hercules' main skill, because granted, it's just a waste of a Soul Blast to do it, but it looks a lot cooler when you stand a rested unit than you stand a stand unit. So kind of just do it for that reason. So does Wandering Mandala, which is somewhat why we are some of the worst players out there, but who cares. Now on to grade 2s. 1 copy of Water Gang, 5k shield, 9k base, auto rearguard circle when it stands, no matter when it's the main phase, stand phase, or whatever phase, counterblast 1 and shove itself to soul. If you do, draw 2. So get you a soul and you get to draw 2 cards, and you only need to pay a counterblast and it has to stand. Really useful considering how much the deck can just do that by either just actual standing by phase or standing by effects. It just can get a free standoff, and then it gets to the draw 2. Okay, net resources. I wouldn't just running it at 4 because you don't need 4. The deck draws enough on its own. But next up is 4 copies of Burner Ant. 5k shield, 8k base. Act rearguard circle. Rest this unit and choose one of your opponent's rearguards in the same column as this unit and move it to an opponent's open rearguard circle. So say it's in the front row and the back center and the back row in the same column is open, just move it there. Or Oh, no, you pick a unit on the field and then you just move it to another. You can move it to another column if I'm correct. So, like, say you have your opponent has an interceptor in the front row and then their back center is open. If I'm correct, you can just use this thing's skill, rest it, and then move that rear guard as long as it was in the same position as burning it to begin with, back behind the vanguard. I think that's how it works. And then the other skill, act rear guard circle, discard a card from your hand. If you do, stand this unit and gets plus 5k. So, just by discarding one, you can get standoff, plus 5k. So, that can be just really useful. And it can just fuck with your opponent's field and just get a free power up out of it. So really useful all around. Next up is 4 copies of Nasty Smog, where if you're running this in a non-mega, if you're not running this in a Megacolony deck, there better be a good damn excuse for it. But 5k shield, 9k base, continuous rearguard circle. All of your opponent's units in the same column as this unit cannot intercept. So it locks down intercepts. It locks down. Well, then the second skill is continuous rearguard. All of your opponent's rearguards in the back row of the same column as it cannot stand during his or her stand phase, which means it locks down intercepts, it is locked down standing. So one column effectively is useless. If you have this in another column, both columns are effectively useless because they don't have boosters, they can't intercept, they can't do jack shit. They're just stuck there. And once alt mouse come out, this thing's going to be a fucking hate card in general because it prevents cards that can now boost because of Starlight Violet from standing. Then they can't intercept Then they can't intercept. So effectively, once alt mod comes out, this is the equivalent to a hate card. And then finally, Bloody Hercules for last grade 2, 9k base, 5k shield, auto rearguard circle when placed, Soul Blast 1 plus 6 ton of turn. But so that skill is auto rearguard. So on place, it's immediately plus 6k, so it can hit anything. It can hit a Force deck, it can hit an Excel deck, it can hit a Protect deck, anything. Then, continuous Vanguard or Rearguard Circle. When its attack hits, countercharge 1 and choose one of your other units and it gets plus 6k. So that's already good because it can be used on Vanguard, it can be used on Rearguard. Countercharges, which is more often than not the best part about this, and then gives another unit plus 6k. And as you guys know, I love making my opponent choose decisions. Like, say, for example, I gave a crit to, I got a critical trigger and I gave it to the rear guard, and they're at 4 damage. I attack with Bloody Hercules. They decide, is it worth taking the Bloody Hercules? Because, think about it, they could guard the Bloody Hercules and they can guard the crit one. Is it worth, but only one of them, is it worth taking the Bloody Hercules just to give them the counter and let them get the counter charge and plus 6k off just to be sure to survive the turn? Or if they rather take the extra crit and risk the chance because the counter charge might end up being the reason why they lose next turn? It's a perfect decision-based situation there. More likely than not, they're going to take the Hercules, but still, I like the decision to force my opponent to do something. Next up is Machining Ornamental, 4 copies. Imaginary Gift Protect, grade 3, 12k base. Auto Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, when it's placed, rest all other rear guards, not itself. So rest your opponent's field, rest your field, and resolve one of the effects below. If you Soul Blast a grade 3 with Machining in its card name, resolve both effects instead of one. So one effect is choose all rear guards, rest rear guards, and all of them get plus 5k ton of turn. Unfortunately, that counts towards your opponent's field too, so they kind of just get plus 5. So like say an opponent's rested rear guard was a Nasty Smog, it gets plus 5k. So you're effectively benefiting your opponent, but you're also benefiting yourself a lot more. Or you can pick the other effect, which I normally pick. Your opponent can only stand up to 2 units during his or next standby phase. So that kind of restricts their options a lot, because that, say like they're playing an Excel deck and they rush the hell out of you, they can only stand 2 units now, which means half their hand that they threw out last turn just went to waste because you can only stand 2 units. And that includes the Vanguard. But if I'm correct, even if you keep the Vanguard at rest, when you ride over it, it comes back at stand. But still, that sucks to do. And when both effects are active, it's just like a beat stick plus an effing paralyzed shotgun. So, hell yeah. 4 copies. Finally, it's 4 copies of Machining Spark Hercules. Imaginary Gift Protect, 12k base. Act Vanguard Circle once per turn. Counterblast 2, choose 5 rear guards, stand them, and if you do, they get plus 5 ton of turn, and then choose all of your opponent's rear guards, well, all of your opponent's units, rest them, and then they lose 5,000 till the end of the opponent's next turn. Which is good, because that just means your whole field gets a buff of 5, but then your opponent's field loses 5. So you get all your attacks back, which means you can use Machining Lady Bomber, you can use Ornamental, and you can just use any combos you want, build your field back up, power them up, and then weaken your opponent's field, which is awesome, because that also counters out Ornamental's effect, because it only affects rear guards. But then the Vanguard, that counts towards the Vanguard too, which means it loses 7k, which means, granted, they can ride over it and lose that effect, but still, it sucks for them. And then because of ornamental, whatever units that do stand, they're going to be weak in state because of the minus 5k. And then act Vanguard Circle once per turn, shove a grade 2 or less into its soul, and if you do for this turn, that unit gets Spark Hercules gets plus 5k for each of your opponent's rested units. So cast the Vanguard, which means on a normal case, like they're not using Excel, that if they have all the rear guards pulled, that can be like 30, that can be plus 30k, which is brings them to 42. Amazing card, rushes, breaks down your opponent, just makes hell for them. Just run it at 4. And then we have the Protect gifts. We got Imaginary Gift Protect 1. I personally own and would run the Machining Spark Hercules one for this one at 4 copies. You can run the Astral artwork or any artwork. I just like this one. And then I run 4 copies of Imaginary Gift Protect 2 because you gotta have that balance. And just in case you don't know what they do, Protect 1 is the essential equivalent to a PG, and Protect 2 is when acquired, you just put it on a rearguard circle, and that rearguard gets plus 5 at all times, and then gets a plus 10k shield at all times. So it's effectively at least a 15k guard, and well, unless it's a grade 3, but they don't get intercept, and it always has plus 5, so it at least has 5,000 at all times. So like the ultimate counter to Hercules. So yeah, that's the end of the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. And don't forget to stand up your Vanguard.